What's up, guys? Happy Monday. All right, we'll start on EU, seeing as we're on EU now. So, in terms of where price is at, just refreshing on from the weekly outlook that obviously I went through on the weekend. We have come quite deep into that bearish leg now, had that reasonable retracement, induced our decisional of that external breakdown, and now starting to show signs of a bearish continuation. So, I would like to follow with this bearish momentum that we are starting to form. Obviously, that follows with a high time frame on our external there and our higher time frame external there as well. So we're sitting in a good position. Obviously, still good deeper. We can come down here, filling all of this imbalance inside of that bigger weekly leg that we've got there as well. So sitting in a really good spot. I like it when we start to have our time frames line up like that. In terms of what we've got to work with right now in EU, so it's a little bit iffy. Like I said, I would like to keep selling. However, I don't want to sell from where it is right now. So what we have had is the inducement of this point towards the end of last week, mitigating more or less this whole area here, which is that higher time frame supply to demand area. Now, we have been obviously quite bearish into it, so I'm not expecting this area to hold. However, the area that we're mitigating right now, really like this whole supply area, is just it's extremely filled. There's nothing really in there in terms of imbalance or anything that we can really mitigate to push down from. We have taken this high here, which is a supply to demand and the decisional of that break. And it is also the high outside of Asia session. So it is a medium inducement. It can sell off from there, but I'm not overly keen on trying to sell from a supply like that. Generally speaking, I just find that they don't hold. So I'm open to buying through it. If we can pull down and induce this low here, being about that 50% of Asia. That is also a supply to demand area. I'm happy to use that as a medium inducement to then buy price up to target this really, really average supply, the inducement of it, and these two 15-minute highs here, which if you've watched over my 15-minute inducement video, I will know that the highs, when they're built like this, generally speaking, don't hold. So I'd like to target the both of them, but happy to sell really as soon as we take that first high there. So we'll see what it wants to do. I'm open to selling it where it is, but there's not really anything to use. Obviously, all this is filled. You could look at using something like this as a smart money trap, but I'm not overly keen on it. I'm definitely not interested in trying to buy from there. So if we do get something that does shape up nice enough, I'll be open to it coming into the session, seeing as we have medium induced here. But I would prefer to see price kind of do something like that. Step down a little bit there, take out this low, buy up, use that as my smart money trap, get that manipulation from here, and then buy up, target this, target this, target this. Yeah. Or if it does pull down and we take that low and we can't obviously catch the buy up, happy to sell really obviously from the whole area there. So quite simple, quite straightforward. Got a bit to work with. Just need to see which way it's going to push. It's good. We're in a position where we can work with both sides of the market. If we come too much further down, obviously we'll be mitigating that whole area. So I'm happy to trade from anywhere inside that demand. If we push through from this demand, I'm not going to be expecting price to push up. I may look for buyers as again, this will be a pretty reasonable inducement, but if we get all the way down here, it's more or less going to be looking like we're respecting that bearish leg. So I'd more or less rather wait for us to take out that low and then see what we're going to do from there. Don't want to try and fight the bearish momentum too much. I want to see more so signs that we're going to manipulate out of here, induce something of significance, buy up, and we're going to be targeting this. I don't want to see price showing signs that it's going to respect that leg because it has technically retraced. This supply area has technically induced liquidity with that two leg, and we have technically medium induced. So I don't want to fight that side of things too much. Want to work with it if we can, but yeah, see what it wants to do. May just sell off. Very well can. Very, very well can. GU, all right. Let me have a quick squeeze on the higher time frame, refresh a little bit again here. GU very similar to EU in the sense that we're inside this leg, which is inside of that leg. Had a pretty deep retracement here now. taking a point of significance, starting to show signs of that bearish continuation. Like I said in that outlook, I am expecting price to come deeper. However, the thing with GU is we're obviously inside of that leg. We've had that complete retracement, starting to work our way up now. But this demand here may potentially not hold, given that we've induced a pretty significant high here, started to get that sell off. So although I'm expecting us to come down here, we may long term actually come and break that low there, which does line up with EU. So we'll see what it wants to do higher time frame. But coming into this week, like I said, I am expecting price to get a bit of a sell off. The only thing that goes against that is we are bullish as fuck on this obviously leg here. So see what it wants to do, but it's looking good for now. We've got actually quite nice price action. All right, so dropping down to the 15-minute, got a really nice supply sitting up here, which of course is the one that induced that supply. We've got that immediate sell-off. We've had our break here, retest here, and obviously that new leg. However, this point may not act as retest as it has induced liquidity. It's also been retested in itself, and we generated liquidity on that complex pullback. So see what it wants to do. We have induced this point, which is a valid demand, which obviously pushed us up from here. So it's really a matter right now of, is this going to outweigh this or at least match it to be able to stay inside the supply and sell off? I'm happy for price to stay inside this leg, given that we've got retest, we've got a liquidity target, we've got a inducement supply valid range, which is also the reason why we might find that EU may hold because of the range that we've got on GU. So we'll see what it wants to do. In terms of what I'm working with right now, couple of different options. The first and simplest one is we push up from here, take out this supply. I'm happy to sell, potentially get that mitigation. Happy to sell. I'm realistically speaking happy to sell anyway, anywhere up until the inducement of that high. Let me just make sure that that's nice and perfect there. Cool. All right, sweet. The other option that I'm looking at, and it looks like it may unfortunately set up pre-session, which is annoying. We have taken this point here, which did take a little bit of liquidity inside of this supply, mitigated this area here, which is a really shitty demand. We've given a couple of legs out of here, broken that. This break here more or less signifies that that point shouldn't hold. Again, we've now had a bit of a retracement here, liquidity build up, brought in more buyers, getting that sell off. So I do anticipate this low and this point to get pushed through, which will give us a 5-minute internal break. The next thing I'm open to looking at from there is we actually are going to have a nice mitigation, which is cool. That's also an inducement supply too, so that's great. You do have this demand here, which yes, is like a demand to supply. Same as this point here, sorry, supply to demand. However, if this point is going to hold, we know that of course this won't hold, this won't hold, this won't hold, this won't hold. And obviously the point down there won't hold. They all go against the structure cycle. So I'm happy to sell through it, which would get in that mitigation now. So that's going to make it a little bit tricky. I will be watching this until we push through it or go from there. So yeah, I'm happy to sell through where it is right now, but with it being that aggressive, I don't know if it's going to set up for us. So yeah, really all I'm looking for on GU is take at this point, sell through this point. I'm open to buying off of that if we can chill out as more or less a potential retracement setup to target Frankfurt Open sellers. So we see what that wants to do. That's not a setup that I'm overly keen on though. I'm really not overly keen on buying GEO at all, just because I really do like the bearish range that we're in, but I am open to buying off of here. But I would much rather though, if we can potentially retest that break. Yeah, that's going to be a tall order. I'm going to need to see some nice 1-minute price action out here, potentially something like that, come up, mitigate this, pull down, use that leg as a smart money, and then get something from there and sell through it. Or retest it like this. If we can sort of push up from here, like we are, retest that break, come down, pull up, mitigate something like that, and then get an entry. I'm happy to sell it from there. So I would like to see this slowly work its way up, though. That's the thing. This point here, you can consider a medium inducement. It is a supply to demand. It is the 50% of Asia, so it may drive price up. If it does, that's perfectly fine because I'm also happy to sell off the take of this and mitigation of that. So we're just going to have to see what it's going to do from here, and how it wants to shape up. We are looking good though. We've got a few options as long as we don't melt too hectically. If we can just chill out a little bit, but yeah, if we can get at least halfway or half an hour, another 20 minutes into Frankfurt before we look like we're going to set up, then that'd be great. I'm open to trading half an hour pre-session, so that's fine. Looking at news for today. Don't really have anything in the way of a news. We've got Orange Folder that's just come out 10 minutes ago. Obviously done nothing. We've got Orange Folder at 6 p.m. Just speeches shouldn't really have any impact. And then you've got obviously midnight and 3 a.m. will be off the charts as we don't trade New York, or I don't trade New York. So nothing really to be worried about there. That's obviously FX Street. Um, Forex Factory is typical Forex Factory isn't showing anything. So yeah, FX Street showing us our orange folder that we've got there, but nothing to be concerned about. So we're all good to go from a news perspective. We'll just see how this shapes up over the next 20 minutes to an hour and see what we get coming into the session. Like I said, it is looking good. We've got good potential. Just be a little bit patient with it. Wait for it to show us what it's going to do. Hopefully not that. Hopefully not just melt, and we'll go from there.